Emma Clark's hands trembled as she dragged the blood-soaked man through the snow, his weight almost crushing her small frame. She didn't know his name. She didn't know where he came from. But the bullet wounds across his chest told her one thing: someone wanted him dead. And in saving him, she might have just signed her own death warrant. The blizzard screamed around her Colorado cabin like a living thing. Emma had seen storms before. 3 winters alone in these mountains had taught her to respect nature's fury. But this was different. This was the kind of storm that killed people. She'd been checking her generator when she saw him. Just a dark shape collapsed against the tree line, barely visible through the white curtain of snowfall. Her first instinct was to go back inside, lock the door, pretend she'd seen nothing. But then the shape moved. A hand reaching out before falling limply back into the snow. Emma ran. Now her muscles burned as she hauled him up the porch steps. He was massive, easily 6'3", 200 pounds of solid muscle. His designer jacket was shredded and soaked with blood. So much blood. "Come on," she muttered through gritted teeth, kicking her front door open. He collapsed onto her floor with a heavy thud. Emma slammed the door shut and stared down at the stranger bleeding out on her hardwood floor. What had she just brought into her home? She dropped to her knees beside him, her veterinary training kicking in. His breathing was shallow, labored. His lips had a bluish tint. Shock. Blood loss. Hypothermia. "Hey," she said sharply, patting his face. "Can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered open. Dark, so dark they were almost black. They locked onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. For just a moment, those eyes held something fierce, predatory. Then they rolled back, and he was gone again. Emma moved fast. She grabbed scissors and started cutting away his clothes. The expensive leather jacket came first. Underneath was a black designer sweater. She cut through it without hesitation. Her hands froze. His torso was a roadmap of violence. Old scars crisscrossed his abdomen and chest. Knife wounds, burn marks, an old bullet scar. But those were nothing compared to the fresh damage. 3 bullet wounds, 2 in his chest, 1 in his side. Still bleeding. "Jesus," she whispered. This man needed a hospital. But the storm had knocked out her phone lines, and her cell had no signal. The roads were impassable. No ambulance was getting through tonight. It was just her veterinary supplies, and a dying stranger. Emma pressed sterile gauze against the worst wound. Blood soaked through immediately. She grabbed more gauze, applied pressure, counted his pulse. Too fast, too weak. "Don't you dare die on me," she said fiercely. "I didn't drag you through a blizzard just to watch you die on my floor." She worked through the night, cleaned the wounds, stopped the bleeding, removed 1 bullet lodged in muscle, her hands shaking because this was a person, not an animal. By 3 in the morning, she'd stitched him up, started an IV with fluids and antibiotics, wrapped his torso in bandages. He was stable, barely. Emma sat back, exhausted, and really looked at him. Even half dead, he was striking. Strong jaw covered in dark stubble, sharp cheekbones, black hair. His hands were scarred across the knuckles, fighter's hands. There was a tattoo on his ribs, partially visible beneath the bandages, a lion with a crown. She noticed his watch then, a Patek Philippe, $50,000 on his wrist. What kind of man wore a $50,000 watch and ended up shot 3 times in the middle of nowhere? She leaned closer and heard him whisper something. Tradimento. Marco. Traditore. Italian. A man in designer clothes, speaking Italian, covered in scars, shot 3 times and left for dead. This wasn't some lost hiker. This was someone dangerous. She should turn him over to the police when the storm cleared. That was the safe thing. But as she watched him fight for breath, something in her chest tightened. She knew what it felt like to be broken and left for dead. Her ex-boyfriend, Ryan, had spent 2 years systematically destroying her. Her confidence, her sense of self, her ability to trust. She'd escaped to these mountains to heal. This man needed someone to save him. The storm raged for 3 days. Emma barely slept, monitoring him around the clock. His fever spiked the second night. She bathed him with cool cloths, forced fluids through his IV, prayed. He talked in his delirium. "Father, I'm sorry. So much blood. Valentina, stay down. I'll protect you." And once, a name. Luca. Emma decided that would be his name, until he woke up. On the third day, the fever broke. Emma was dozing when she heard him groan. Her eyes snapped open. Luca was awake, staring at her ceiling with confused eyes. "Hey," she said softly. "Easy. Don't try to move." His head turned toward her. "Where am I?" "My cabin, in Colorado. I found you 3 days ago during the blizzard. You'd been shot." His jaw tightened. He tried to sit up, and she put a hand on his shoulder. "Don't move, you'll tear your stitches." "Who are you?" "Emma Clark. And you are?" He stared at her for a long moment. She saw panic flicker across his face. I don't remember." "What's the last thing you do remember?" "Nothing. Cold, pain, trees." His eyes pinned her. Nothing before that. Emma's heart sank. Trauma-induced amnesia. "You were speaking Italian in your fever. You said a name. Luca." "Does that mean anything?" Something flickered in his expression. "Luca, it feels right." "Okay, Luca then." She checked his pulse. "You're lucky to be alive. 3 gunshot wounds, hypothermia, blood loss. You saved my life." His gaze moved over her face. "Why?" "Because everyone deserves a chance." Something softened in his expression. Then the wariness returned. "The people who did this, they might come looking. I know." His hand caught her wrist, his grip strong. "I don't know who I am, but I know I'm dangerous. The scars, the way I was shot, you should turn me in." Emma looked at his hand on her wrist, then back at his face. She should be afraid, but all she felt was the warmth of his skin and the desperate warning in his eyes. "You're not exactly in shape to be a threat right now," she said quietly. "For the moment, you're just a patient who needs rest." Over the next days, Luca healed quickly. By day 6, he was walking around the cabin carefully. Emma watched him when he didn't know she was looking. The way he automatically scanned every room, noting exits. The way he moved, controlled, efficient. The way he positioned himself between her and the door. He didn't remember who he was, but his body remembered how to survive. On the 7th night, Luca broke their comfortable silence. "Tell me about yourself, Emma Clark. Who saves strange men in blizzards?" She looked up from her book. "What do you want to know? Why you're alone in these mountains, what you're running from. What makes you think I'm running?" A slight smile. "Because I recognize a fellow refugee." Emma decided on honesty. "I left a bad relationship 2 years ago. My ex was a deputy sheriff, controlling, manipulative, sometimes violent. Everyone loved him. No one believed me. So I ran, bought this cabin, started over." Luca's expression darkened. "This ex, he's still looking for you?" "Ryan calls sometimes. Says he's worried, but it feels like surveillance. Men like that don't move on. They see people as possessions." His voice was hard. "I think I might be that type. These scars, I'm not a good man, Emma. You talk in your sleep. You say a woman's name, Valentina. You tell her you'll protect her. That doesn't sound like a bad man." His hands clenched. "Valentina. The name feels important, but I can't remember her face." They sat in silence, the fire crackling. Emma was hyper-aware of him, the firelight on his features, the way his eyes kept returning to her face. It was dangerous, this attraction, but she couldn't stop it. On the 8th day, everything changed. Emma was outside when she noticed them. Tire tracks in the snow, fresh. Someone had been here, watching. She hurried inside. Luca took one look at her face and was on his feet. "What happened?" "Tire tracks. Someone was here." His expression became cold, predatory. "Show me." He studied the tracks. "Professional. They came, assessed, left when they didn't see what they wanted." "What were they looking for?" "Me." Emma's phone rang. Ryan. She answered. Hello? Emma, thank God. I've been worried. You doing okay? Ryan's voice was warm, concerned. I'm fine, Ryan. I need to ask you something. Have you seen anything unusual? Any strangers? Her eyes went to Luca. Why? We're tracking a fugitive. Dangerous guy. Might be in your area. I'm worried he might approach isolated cabins. What did he do? That's classified. Just promise you'll call if you see anything. This guy is extremely dangerous. She thought about the man in her cabin, his gentle hands, his protective instincts. I'll call if I see anything. She lied. Good girl. Stay safe. The line went dead. Your ex, Luca said. He's looking for you. Says you're a fugitive. Did he say what I did? No. Just that you're dangerous. She looked at him. Are you? Yes. But not to you. Never to you. No hesitation. You saved my life. That means something. I won't hurt you. I'd die first. The intensity made her breath catch. Then we need to figure out who you are before they find you. You're either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. She managed to smile. I've been told I have terrible judgment in men. That surprised a laugh out of him. The air between them shifted, became charged. His gaze dropped to her lips. Emma, he said, his voice rough. Don't. We can't. She stepped back. You don't even know your real name. I know how you make me feel. Found. God, it would be so easy. But Emma had learned passionate intensity wasn't the same as safety. Let me see that tattoo. Maybe it means something. Luca lifted his shirt. Emma grabbed her laptop and searched. Lion Crown Tattoo Crime. Her screen filled with results. The Moretti crime family. Their symbol. A lion with a crown. Then she saw it. A wanted poster from the FBI. Dante Moretti. Age 34. Wanted for racketeering, conspiracy, murder, armed and extremely dangerous. Reward, $2 million. The photo was unmistakable. Emma turned slowly. Your name is Dante Moretti. You're wanted by the FBI for murder. Dante stared at his own face on the screen. No, he whispered. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We know you have him. Give him to us, or you both die. You have 48 hours. Her hands shook. Dante's expression went ice cold. Emma, you need to leave. Before... The sound of engines cut him off. Headlights illuminated the cabin. Dante's hand found hers. Whatever happens, stay behind me. Emma woke to find Dante standing at her window, shirtless, his back tense. Someone's out there, he whispered. And I think I know why they want me dead. The sound of engines rumbled closer. They were coming. The headlights cut through the trees like predators hunting prey. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs as Dante grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the basement door. His movements were fluid despite the healing wounds, instinctive, like his body remembered what his mind couldn't. Down, now, he commanded, his voice low and controlled. She didn't argue. They descended the narrow stairs into the basement she'd converted into a storage space and emergency shelter. Dante pulled the door shut behind them, plunging them into darkness broken only by the thin strip of light beneath the door. Above them, car doors slammed. Footsteps crunched in the snow. Multiple sets. At least 4, maybe more. Emma pressed herself against the cold concrete wall, trying to control her breathing. Dante positioned himself in front of her, his body a wall between her and whatever was coming. Even in the darkness, she could feel the tension radiating from him, coiled, ready, dangerous. A fist pounded on her front door, once, twice, 3 times. Then the sound of wood splintering. They'd kicked it in. Heavy boots stomped across her floor. Emma heard furniture being overturned, drawers yanked open, her life being torn apart by strangers searching for something, searching for him. Non c'è nessuno, a man's voice said from above. Nobody's here. Italian. Just like Dante's fevered whispers. Cerca nel seminterrato, another voice ordered. Check the basement. Dante's hand found hers in the darkness, Squeezed once. A silent message. Trust me. Footsteps approached the basement door. Emma held her breath. The door creaked open. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness, sweeping across boxes and old furniture. It passed within inches of where they hid behind a tall shelving unit. The man on the stairs muttered something in Italian, then retreated. The door closed. More conversation above, too muffled to understand. Then the footsteps retreated. Engines started. The vehicles pulled away, their sound gradually fading into the night. They stayed frozen for 5 full minutes after the silence returned. Finally, Dante released her hand and moved to the stairs, listening. He climbed slowly, eased the door open, and disappeared into the cabin. Emma waited, her legs shaking, her mind racing with what had just happened. Professional men. Speaking Italian, searching her home with military precision. Dante returned, his expression grim. They're gone, but they'll be back. She climbed the stairs on trembling legs and surveyed the damage. Her couch was overturned, cushions slashed open. Her kitchen drawers hung open, contents scattered across the floor. They'd been thorough. Who were they? She asked, though she already knew the answer. Family. Dante moved to the window, carefully checking the tree line. Moretti family, based on the tattoo I saw on one of the men's necks. Same as mine. Emma's blood went cold. They're looking for you. They're looking for my body. They think I'm dead, but they need to be sure. He turned to face her, and in the low light he looked like someone else entirely, harder, colder, more dangerous. I saw the man clearly when he came down the stairs. His neck tattoo triggered something, a memory. What did you remember? Dante's jaw clenched. Blood. So much blood. Gunfire. Someone screaming my name, my real name. Dante. He pressed his palm against his forehead like he could force the memories through. There was a betrayal. Someone I trusted. Marco. The name you said in your fever. Marco Vitale. I can see his face now. Dark hair, scar across his left eyebrow, cold eyes. Dante's hands curled into fists. He was my underboss, my second in command, and he shot me, left me to die in these mountains. Emma sank onto her overturned couch, processing this. Why would he betray you? Power, control. The words came easier now, like a dam breaking. The Moretti family is an empire. Millions of dollars, influence from New York to Boston. Someone like Marco, ambitious, ruthless, he'd do anything to take it. So he staged a coup, and thought he'd succeeded. Dante's expression was bleak. The question is, how many others betrayed me? Who's still loyal? And where's... He stopped abruptly. Where's who? Valentina. The name came out broken. My sister. God, I can see her face now. Dark hair, green eyes, younger than me by 12 years. I raised her after our mother died. If Marco betrayed me, she's in danger. Emma watched emotions war across his face. Fear, rage, protective fury. This was the real Dante Moretti emerging from the amnesia, and he was nothing like the cold criminal from the FBI poster. He was a man terrified for his sister's safety. We need to find out if she's safe, Emma said, standing. No. Dante shook his head firmly. You need to get as far away from me as possible. This is my world, my mess. You've done enough. Those men just broke into my home. I'm already involved. Which is exactly why you need to leave. Emma, you don't understand what you're caught up in. The Moretti family, my family, we're not just criminals. We're an organization built on violence. Marco won't hesitate to kill you to get to me. Then we make sure he doesn't find you. She crossed her arms. You're still healing. You can't exactly fight off an entire crime family alone. I've done worse in worse condition. But there was no conviction in his voice. Emma stepped closer, looked up into those dark eyes that had seen too much violence. You protected me tonight. Stood between me and danger without even thinking about it. Let me return the favor. Why? His voice was rough, confused. Why would you risk everything for someone like me? Because despite everything, the FBI poster, the crime family, the violence, when I look at you, I don't see a monster. I see a man trying to protect his sister, a man who was betrayed by someone he trusted, a man who deserves a second chance. Something cracked in Dante's expression. He raised his hand like he might touch her face, then stopped himself, his fingers curling into a fist. You have no idea what I've done, Emma. The blood on my hands, the lives I've destroyed. Then tell me who Dante Moretti really is. He was silent for a long moment, wrestling with something internal. Finally he spoke, his voice low and heavy. I was 19 when my father was murdered by a rival family. Too young to lead, but I had no choice. It was take control or watch everything my family built crumble. So I became the monster they needed, ruthless, violent, feared. He moved to the window, staring out at the darkness. I made decisions that haunt me, ordered hits on people who betrayed us, built an empire on fear and blood money. I told myself it was necessary, that I was protecting my family, my territory. But the truth is, I became exactly what everyone expected me to be. What changed? Valentina. A slight smile, sad and tender. She grew up, started asking questions about the family business, about what I did to keep her safe. I saw myself through her eyes and hated what I'd become. I wanted out, wanted to go legitimate, clean the money, build something that wouldn't destroy her future. That's why Marco betrayed you. The old families don't like change. They wanted the violence, the control, the power. Going legitimate threatened everything they'd built. Marco saw an opportunity and took it. Dante turned back to her. Now you know. I'm not some innocent victim. I'm a killer trying to pretend he can be something else. Emma absorbed this, seeing the self-loathing in his eyes. You're also a brother who protected his sister, a man who recognized what he'd become and tried to change. That matters. Does it? He moved closer, the space between them charged with tension. Because I still remember how to hurt people, Emma. How to kill without hesitation. Those instincts don't disappear just because I want them to. I know. She didn't back away. I saw you tonight, the way you positioned yourself between me and danger. Those same instincts protected me. For now. But what happens when the violence finds us? When I have to become that monster again to keep you safe? His voice dropped to a whisper. What happens when you look at me and finally see what I really am? I guess we'll find out together. The words hung in the air between them. Dante stared at her like she was something impossible, something he didn't deserve but couldn't walk away from. Then his control shattered. He closed the distance between them in 2 steps, his hand cupping her face, his touch surprisingly gentle despite the violence that lived in those hands. You're either the bravest woman I've ever met or completely insane. I told you, terrible judgment in men. That surprised a rough laugh from him. Then his expression turned serious, intense. If I kiss you right now, there's no going back. You'll be tied to me, to this mess, to whatever comes next. Tell me to stop, Emma. Tell me to walk away. She should. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was insane, dangerous, exactly the kind of passionate intensity that had destroyed her before. But Ryan had been all control and manipulation disguised as love. Dante was raw honesty and genuine conflict, a man who warned her away while desperately hoping she'd stay. Don't stop, she whispered. Dante kissed her like a drowning man finding air. His lips were firm, demanding, but underneath the hunger was something almost desperate, like he was trying to memorize this moment, this feeling, this woman who saw past the monster to the man beneath. Emma melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer despite every warning bell in her head. He tasted like coffee and danger and something uniquely him. His hand slid into her hair, angling her head, deepening the kiss until she forgot to breathe. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. This is a mistake, he said, but his arms tightened around her waist. Probably the biggest one I've ever made. I can't promise you safety. I can't promise you tomorrow. All I can promise is that I'll protect you with everything I have. Then that's enough. She pulled back slightly, meeting his eyes. But we need a plan. Marco thinks you're dead, which gives us an advantage. We need to use it. Dante nodded slowly, his tactical mind clearly engaging. We need to contact Valentina, find out what's happening in New York. But it has to be secure. Marco will be monitoring everything. What about the FBI, that agent? Emma tried to remember the name from the wanted poster. Sarah Carmichael. She's been trying to flip me for 3 years. Dante's expression was thoughtful. She might help, but she'll want something in return. My testimony against the entire network. Would you do it? Testify? To keep Valentina safe? To stop Marco? He didn't hesitate. Yes, but we need leverage first. Information Marco doesn't want revealed. A phone buzzed. Emma's. She pulled it from her pocket, saw Ryan's name, and felt her stomach drop. Don't answer it, Dante said, but she was already swiping to accept. Emma. Ryan's voice was different now, harder, more controlled. We need to talk. About what? About the fact that I know you're hiding Dante Moretti, and about what's going to happen if you don't turn him over in the next 24 hours. Emma's blood turned to ice. I don't know what you're... Don't lie to me. Ryan's voice cracked like a whip. I've been tracking him for months. I know he was shot near your property. I know you found him, and I know you're protecting him. Dante's expression had gone deadly cold, his entire body tensed like a weapon ready to deploy. Ryan, I'm alone. You're paranoid. Am I? Then you won't mind if I come up there right now with a search warrant, see for myself. You need probable cause for a warrant. I have it. Anonymous tip about suspicious activity at your cabin. Federal fugitive potentially on premises. Judge signed it an hour ago. Ryan paused. I'm trying to help you, Emma. Moretti is dangerous. He's manipulating you just like before. Let me protect you. The comparison to before, to Ryan's control disguised as protection, made her snap. I don't need your protection, I never did. That was always about controlling me. This is different. This man is a killer. He's wanted by the FBI for multiple murders. Whatever he's told you, whatever you think you know about him, it's a lie. Dante reached for the phone, but Emma pulled it away. Ryan, if you come up here, you'll be wasting your time. There's nothing to find. Then you won't mind the search. His voice dropped, became almost gentle. Emma, I still care about you. I'm trying to save your life. Moretti uses people. That's what he does. Don't be another victim. The line went dead. Emma stared at her phone, her mind racing. He's coming, with a warrant. How long do we have? An hour, maybe 2 if the roads are still bad. Dante was already moving, grabbing supplies, his movements efficient and practiced. We need to leave. Now. Where? I have a safe house in Denver, one of my old network locations. We can regroup there, contact Valentina, figure out our next move. Emma grabbed her coat, stuffing essentials into a backpack. Her hands were shaking. This was really happening. She was running from the law with a wanted mafia boss. Dante caught her hand, stopping her frantic movements. Emma, look at me. She met his eyes. Once we leave, you're a fugitive. Ryan will come after you. The FBI will add your name to the investigation. Your life as you know it. Gone. His grip tightened. You can still stay. Tell them I forced you, that you were a victim. They'll believe you. And leave you to face this alone? I've faced worse. Emma thought about her quiet life in these mountains, the peace she'd found after Ryan, the safety of isolation. Then she thought about Dante standing between her and danger, his desperate attempt to protect her even now by offering her an escape. No, she said firmly. We're in this together. Something blazed in his eyes, gratitude, desire, something deeper that neither of them was ready to name. He pulled her against him, kissed her hard and fast, then released her. Then we move, fast. They were out the door in 3 minutes, Dante hot-wiring Emma's truck with practiced ease. As they pulled away from her cabin, away from her sanctuary, her safety, her old life, Emma looked back once. The place where she'd rebuilt herself was disappearing into the darkness. Any regrets? Dante asked, navigating the treacherous mountain road with the confidence of someone who'd done worse things in worse conditions. Emma turned to look at him, this dangerous, damaged man who'd crashed into her life with bullets and blood and broken memories. "Ask me later." His hand found hers across the console, their fingers interlacing. Later might not come. Then we better make sure it does. Behind them, in the rearview mirror, Emma saw headlights appear on the mountain road, red and blue lights flashing. Ryan had found them faster than expected. "Hold on," Dante said, his voice dropping into something cold and focused. The man who'd built an empire through violence and strategy was taking over. The truck accelerated into the night, sirens wailing behind them, and Emma realized with absolute clarity that she'd crossed a line she could never uncross. She was now a fugitive, running with the most wanted man in America. And God help her, she'd never felt more alive. Você está certo. Vou reescrever o capítulo 3 com aproximadamente 10.000 caracteres, mantendo todos os elementos essenciais da história. 48 hours to decide between love and survival. The sirens faded as Dante navigated mountain roads with impossible precision. His hands were steady, eyes constantly checking mirrors, calculating escape routes like breathing. Emma gripped the door handle. "How are you doing this?" "Muscle memory. My body remembers even if my mind doesn't." 20 minutes later, Dante pulled onto what looked like a hiking trail. He killed the lights and engine, plunging them into darkness. "We're waiting. Ryan will expect us to run for Denver." We give him time to pass, then double back. Dante turned to her. "You're shaking." Emma hadn't realized. The adrenaline was fading, and terror rushed in. "I just became a fugitive. Her voice broke. Dante pulled her across the console into his lap. She buried her face against his neck, letting the fear pour out. His arms wrapped around her, one hand stroking her hair with surprising gentleness. "I'm sorry. You should have let me go alone." "Stop. I made my choice. I chose you." Something vulnerable flickered across his face. "Why? What you know about me should terrify you. When Ryan controlled me, he called it love. Said everything was to protect me. But it was about owning me. You've done the opposite. You keep trying to push me away to protect me even if it means losing me. That's the difference." Dante caught her hand, pressed his lips to her palm. "You see the best in me. I'm terrified of when you see the worst. Then show me. Tell me everything." 3 hours later, they reached Denver. The safe house was a nondescript apartment in a working-class neighborhood. Dante used a hidden key and let her inside, sparse but functional. "It's clean. No one knows about this place except me and one other person." "Who?" "Thomas Ricci, my consigliere. He was like a father to me." Dante's expression darkened. "Marco killed him during the coup." Emma watched him check windows and exits. "Tell me your story, Dante, from the beginning." He sat heavily on the couch and the words began to flow. "My father wasn't a good man. Brutal, paranoid, violent. My mother was different. Gentle. Then she died, giving birth to Valentina. I was 12, suddenly responsible for a baby sister and a father who blamed us both." His voice was heavy. "I raised Valentina while learning the family business, changed her diapers between meetings with capos. By 19, I was fluent in childhood and violence." Emma sat beside him, listening. "Then my father was murdered, shot in our home. The Castellanos left a message. The old regime was over. They wanted our territory." His hands clenched. "I was 19 with Valentina to protect, so I became what they needed. I found the men responsible and made them pay. Violently, publicly. I became more dangerous than my father ever was." He stood, paced to the window. "It worked. I expanded operations, eliminated threats, built an empire. I told myself it was about protecting Valentina. But the truth is I was good at it. The violence came naturally, too naturally." Emma stayed quiet. 6 years ago, the Castellanos hit one of our operations. I ordered a retaliatory strike on their warehouse, told Marco to burn it down." His voice cracked. I didn't know the Castellano boss was hiding his family there. His wife, his 2 children, 7 and 9 years old. They died in the fire. Dante, don't make excuses. I gave the order. Those children died because of my arrogance. He pressed his palms against his eyes. I see their faces every time I close my eyes. Emma stood, moved to him. What did you do after? The Castellano boss came to me, broken, destroyed, and said, I hope you never know what this feels like. Then he left the city. Dante's hands dropped. That's when I realized what I'd become. A monster who killed children. I couldn't look at Valentina the same way. So you tried to go legitimate. Started 3 years ago. Slowly transitioning operations. The old families hated it. Marco especially. He'd built his reputation on violence. 6 months ago he proposed a big deal. Human trafficking. I refused. He seemed to accept it, but I saw calculation in his eyes. He was planning the coup. For months. 3 weeks ago he called a meeting. Shot Tommy first, right in front of me. Then turned the gun on me. His voice hardened. Told me my weakness would have destroyed everything. Ordered his men to dump me in the mountains. That's when you found me. And saved your life. And gave me a second chance I don't deserve. He looked at her intensely. Now you know everything. This is who Dante Moretti really is. Emma processed everything. You're right. You've done terrible things. Those children's deaths. You'll carry that forever. And you should. Dante's expression closed off. But you're also a brother who raised his sister. A man who recognized what he'd become and tried to change. You were betrayed for trying to do better. That matters. Does it? Those children are still dead. Yes, and you'll spend your life trying to make amends. That's redemption, Dante. Not erasing the past, but choosing to be better despite it. She knelt before him. I'm not naive. I know you're dangerous. But I also know you've been trying to protect me, trying to push me away from my safety. The monster you're afraid of? He wouldn't care enough to try. Emma, I'm choosing you anyway. Not because I don't see the darkness, but because I see you fighting it. Dante pulled her into his arms desperately. He kissed her like she was salvation and damnation together. I don't deserve you. He breathed against her lips. Probably not. But you're stuck with me. That surprised a broken laugh. If we do this, if we're really together, no more secrets. Complete honesty. Deal. Now tell me the plan. How do we stop Marco? Dante's tactical mind engaged. First, we contact Valentina through secure channels, find out what's happening in New York. His phone buzzed. The one from his jacket pocket. Someone had turned it on remotely. A text appeared. A photo. Valentina bound to a chair, her face bruised, terror in her green eyes. Below it, you're alive. Good. Now we can negotiate. Your life for hers. You have 48 hours to turn yourself in, or I start sending you pieces of your baby sister. M. Dante's entire body went rigid. The phone cracked in his grip. When he looked at Emma, his eyes were black with rage. Pure, focused, deadly. Marco just made the biggest mistake of his life. He touched Valentina. Emma saw it then. The monster he'd been hiding. Terrifyingly focused. This was the man who'd built an empire through violence. What do we do? Dante was already moving, pulling weapons from hidden compartments, guns, knives, cash. We destroy Marco Vitale and everyone who helped him. No mercy. Dante? He stopped. I know. This is the violence I was trying to leave behind. But Valentina is the only family I have left. If I have to burn the world to get her back, I will. Emma put her hand over his heart. Then we do it smart. We use your brain, not just rage. Marco wants you emotional, wants mistakes. Dante covered her hand, some ice thawing from his eyes. Strategy over emotion. Tommy taught me that. He took a breath, pulling back from the edge. We need help. Someone inside who can tell us where he's holding her. Who can you trust? Only one person. He dialed a number. It rang twice before a smooth Irish accent answered. Well, Dante Moretti back from the dead. James, I need to call in my marker. The life debt? What do you need? Safe passage to New York and information on Marco Vitale. He's holding my sister. A pause. Marco's consolidating power. He's working with someone on the FBI side, Deputy Sheriff Ryan Mitchell. Mitchell's been feeding him intelligence for months. Emma's blood went cold. Ryan, I need transport to New York, tonight, and weapons. Consider it done. You saved my son's life. I'll have everything ready in 2 hours. James paused. But Marco's got 20 men. The old families are backing him. You'll be walking into a war. I know, but he has Valentina. I don't have a choice. Then I'll make sure you go in prepared. Dante hung up, turned to Emma. Ryan's working with Marco. The tracking, the warrant, everything was about making sure I died or got caught. So we take them both down. No, I go to New York. You stay here. Stay safe. Stop. I'm not staying behind. Valentina needs saving, and you need backup. Plus, Ryan's obsessed with me. That gives us leverage. I won't use you as bait. I'm volunteering. We use Ryan's obsession against him. She pulled him down, kissed him hard. Here's my truth. I'm in love with you, Dante Moretti. I know it's insane, but I don't care. I'm not letting you walk into hell alone. Dante's control shattered. He kissed her desperately, his hands everywhere. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I love you too, and that's why you can't come. It won't work, because we're smarter than Marco. We're going to save your sister, take him down, and build a life together. You make it sound simple. It is. We survive. We win. We live. Dante laughed, broken, desperate. You're completely insane. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. Dante, this is FBI agent Sarah Carmichael. We need to talk. How did you get this number? I've been tracking you for 3 years. I also know Marco staged a coup and is holding your sister. And I know Ryan Mitchell is working with him. Emma and Dante exchanged glances. What do you want, Agent Carmichael? To make a deal. You testify against Marco, Mitchell, and the corrupt network. Give me everything. In exchange, I give you immunity and help you get your sister back. Why would I trust the FBI? Because I'm not dirty. Because I know what happened with the Castellano family. I know you've been trying to go legitimate. This is your chance at redemption, Dante. Dante was quiet. Then, I want it in writing. Full immunity, protection for Valentina and Emma Clark. Ms. Clark is wanted for aiding a fugitive. She's non-negotiable. Full immunity or no deal. Sarah sighed. Fine. But Dante? Marco's meeting with family heads tomorrow night to solidify control. If we move, it has to be then. Where's Valentina? We're working on that. I'll have a location by tonight. Don't do anything stupid. The line went dead. Do you trust her? Emma asked. She's been straight before. If she can get Valentina's location and guarantee immunity, this could work. He pulled Emma close. 48 hours ago, I didn't know my name. Now I'm planning to testify against my family and somehow not get everyone I love killed. When you put it that way, it does sound complicated. Emma, if this goes wrong, don't. We're both making it out, together. He cupped her face. There's my fierce Emma. Damn right. She kissed him. Now we have 2 hours before James has everything ready. I suggest we use that time wisely. The heat in Dante's eyes was answer enough. He lifted her, carried her to the bedroom, kicked the door shut. Outside, Denver woke to a normal day. Inside, 2 people who shouldn't have found each other made love like it might be their last chance. Because in 48 hours everything would explode, and only one of them might walk away. Você está certo. Vou reescrever o capítulo 4 com aproximadamente 10.000 caracteres, mantendo os elementos essenciais. They disappeared into the night, leaving everything Emma knew behind. 2 hours later, they stood in a warehouse on the outskirts of Denver. The space smelled of oil and metal, lit by flickering overhead lights. Emma stayed close to Dante, her hand resting on the gun he'd given her. A door opened. 3 men entered, the lead one tall with red hair going gray. He moved with the confidence of someone who'd seen everything. Dante, you look like hell. Feel like it too. Dante stepped forward, and the men clasped hands. James, thanks for this. You saved my boy's life. This is the least I can do. James O'Connor's sharp blue eyes moved to Emma. And who's this? Emma Clark. She's with me. Something in Dante's tone made James smile. With you, is she? That's new. She's everything. James's expression softened. Welcome to the madness, Ms. Clark. He gestured to his men, who rolled forward a large case. Everything you asked for, weapons, ammunition, cash, fake IDs, secure phones, and this. He handed Dante a folder. Inside were surveillance photos, Marco Vital meeting with mob bosses, political figures, and Ryan Mitchell shaking Marco's hand. Mitchell's been on Marco's payroll for 8 months, James said. Started small, now he's in deep. What about Valentina? Dante's voice was controlled but desperate. James pulled out another photo. A warehouse in Brooklyn, heavily guarded. She's here. 20 men minimum. Marco's expecting you. It's a trap. Obviously, but you're going anyway. James handed Dante a phone. Your FBI agent called. Said she'll have surveillance support ready. Sarah Carmichael's one of the good ones. Then you've got a chance, a small one. James looked at Emma. Mitchell's obsessed with you, Ms. Clark. Can't stand that you chose someone else. We use that. Emma stepped forward. What if I go after Valentina while Dante confronts Marco? Marco doesn't know who I am. I'm invisible. Absolutely not. Dante's voice was hard. You're not going near that building. She's got a point, James said. Marco's prepared for you, not for a civilian woman. She could get killed. I could get killed staying here too, Emma countered. Marco knows about me now. My only safety is helping end this. Dante looked at her with frustration and fear. You're asking me to put you in danger. I'm asking you to trust me, to let me be your partner. She moved closer. Ryan made me feel powerless for years. You've shown me I'm stronger. Let me prove it. Something shifted in Dante's expression. If we do this, you follow my lead. Every step. You get Valentina out and you run. Understand? I understand. They spent the next hour planning. James's men would create a distraction at the warehouse, forcing Marco to move Valentina to a restaurant in Little Italy, right where they wanted her. Sarah Carmichael would have FBI agents positioned around the perimeter. Emma would pose as a server, get close to Valentina, and extract her when chaos started. Dante would confront Marco publicly, wearing a wire to capture everything. One problem, Emma said. How do I pose as a server? James smiled. The Carboni family owes me a favor. Their daughter's working tomorrow night. She'll call in sick. You'll take her place. Dante's phone buzzed. Sarah Carmichael. Tell me you found her, Dante answered. Brooklyn warehouse. Valentina's alive. Seems unharmed. But Marco's moving her tomorrow afternoon. To the restaurant in Little Italy. We know. We'll be there. You're supposed to let us handle this. And if I don't walk in, Marco kills Valentina to prove a point. He wants a public execution, me on my knees before he puts a bullet in my head. That's how he solidifies power. A long silence. You're probably right, which is why I'm going to trust you. But you wear a wire. You get me evidence. Real, actionable evidence. Done. Emma Clark's with you, isn't she? Yes. Tell her I'm adding witness protection to the immunity deal. Emma shook her head firmly. Dante said, She says no. We're staying together. Of course you are. Fine. But you both better survive this. Carmichael out. James packed up his equipment. My men will be in position by 6 p.m. tomorrow. Distraction starts at 7. That gives you 30 minutes before Marco arrives with Valentina at 7:30. They left the warehouse hand in hand. Back at the safe house, neither could sleep. They lay in bed together, Dante holding her. Tell me about Valentina, Emma said softly. Stubborn, smart, our mother's eyes, our father's temper. but better than both. She wanted to be a lawyer. I kept her clean. No involvement in the family business. She hated that, but I'd rather have her hate me than become what I became. She's going to be okay. We're going to save her. I know, because failure isn't an option. His arms tightened. She's all the family I have left. Well, until you. You're my family too. They made love as dawn broke, slow, tender, memorizing each other. When Emma woke, afternoon light streamed through windows. Dante was checking weapons with the focus of someone preparing for war. It's almost time, you ready? Emma thought about everything that led here, the blizzard, the stranger, the choice to stand by him. Yeah, I'm ready. Dante pulled her close. Whatever happens tonight, know that you made me believe in second chances. You gave me hope when I had none. Then let's make sure we both get that second chance. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know what you're planning, but you don't know the whole truth. Dante isn't who you think he is. Meet me first. Let me show you what he's really done. Or you're walking into hell blind. R. Ryan. Dante read over her shoulder. He's trying to manipulate you. Create doubt. I know. But uncertainty crept in. Do you trust me? Dante asked quietly. Emma looked at him, this man who'd warned her away repeatedly, who'd been brutally honest, who'd protected her at every turn. Then at the text from Ryan, who'd spent years lying while calling it love. I trust you, she said firmly, deleting the message. Relief flooded Dante's face. Thank you. They drove to New York in silence, arriving at midnight. Sarah Carmichael was waiting at a safe house in Queens. She was younger than Emma expected. Late 30s, sharp-eyed, dark hair pulled back. Moretti, you look better than your wanted poster. Agent Carmichael, thanks for the help. Don't thank me yet. She handed him a small device. The wire. It'll pick up everything within 30 feet. She turned to Emma. You sure you want to do this? Yes. Even knowing you could be killed? Even knowing that? Sarah nodded with respect. Here's your server uniform. You answer to Maria. Stay quiet. Keep your head down. When things go bad, you get Valentina to the kitchen. Back exit leads to an alley. My agents will be there. They worked through the night, going over every detail. By dawn, Emma was exhausted, but ready. Last chance to back out, Dante said softly. Not a chance. Emma dressed in the server uniform, the small gun tucked into an ankle holster. Dante put on an expensive suit, clipped the wire inside his jacket, transformed into the head of a crime family. Sarah got a call. Marco's moving Valentina now. The distraction worked. He's rattled. Good. Rattled men make mistakes. She handed them phones. Connected directly to my team. Anything goes wrong, you call. They drove toward Little Italy. Sarah's team was in position. Surveillance vans, agents on rooftops, backup units ready. James's men were creating chaos across the city. Emma and Dante stood in the alley behind the restaurant, their final moment alone. I love you, Dante said, cupping her face. I love you too. Now let's go save your sister and end this. They kissed once, fierce, desperate, full of hope. Then they walked into hell. Dante's silence was the loudest answer Emma had ever heard. She stood frozen in the restaurant kitchen, her server uniform suddenly feeling like a costume in a play she didn't understand. Through the small window in the swinging door, she could see the private dining room where everything was about to explode. Marco Vitale sat at the head of the table, dark hair slicked back, the scar through his left eyebrow exactly as Dante had described. He wore an expensive suit and the confidence of a man who believed he'd already won. Around him sat 5 older men, the family heads James had mentioned. And there, in a chair against the wall with 2 guards flanking her, was Valentina. Emma's breath caught. She looked so much like Dante. Same dark hair, same strong features, but her green eyes were filled with terror barely contained beneath a mask of defiance. Her hands were zip-tied in front of her, and bruises darkened her cheekbone. You okay, Maria? Another server, an older woman named Rosa, touched Emma's arm. You look pale. I'm fine, just nervous. First time serving the private room. Rosa nodded sympathetically. Stay calm, move quickly, don't make eye contact. These men, she crossed herself. They're dangerous. We're invisible to them. That's how we stay safe. Emma nodded, grateful for the advice and the perfect cover. She picked up a tray of wine glasses and pushed through the swinging door. The conversation stopped as she entered. Emma kept her eyes down, moving around the table, pouring wine with hands that barely trembled. She could feel Marco's eyes on her, assessing, dismissing. Just another server, invisible. When she reached Valentina's side of the room, their eyes met for just a second. Emma saw recognition there, not of her specifically, but of hope. Someone who didn't belong to Marco's world, a potential ally. Emma set down the wine bottle and whispered in Italian, words Dante had taught her during the drive. Tuo fratello viene, your brother is coming. Valentina's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. Then she looked away, but Emma saw her shoulders straighten slightly. Hope. That's enough, one of the guards said, waving Emma away. She retreated to the kitchen, her heart hammering. Good, Rosa said. You did good. Now we wait until they want food. Emma positioned herself by the window, watching. The family heads were talking, their conversation too low to hear clearly. Marco was making his case, his gestures confident. This was his coronation, his moment to legitimize the coup. Then the front door of the restaurant opened. Dante walked in. He looked like a different person. The dangerous heir to a crime empire, every inch of him radiating controlled power despite the healing bullet wounds. His suit was immaculate, his expression cold and calm. He moved through the restaurant like he owned it, and Emma realized he probably had once upon a time. The dining room went silent as Dante appeared in the doorway. Marco stood slowly, surprise and calculation warring across his face. Dante, you're harder to kill than I thought. You always underestimated me, Marco. That's why you were never going to succeed. Dante's voice was steady, conversational. The wire hidden in his jacket would be picking up everything. And yet here you are, walking into my meeting, my territory, surrounded by my men. Marco gestured to the guards positioned around the room. Either you're incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. I'm here for my sister. Let her go, and we can settle this between us. Marco laughed. You're not in a position to negotiate, brother. The word dripped with mockery. You lost. I won. The families are here to witness the transfer of power. Your sister lives or dies depending on whether you cooperate. One of the family heads, an elderly man with white hair, spoke up. Marco, this wasn't the agreement. We came to discuss terms, not witness an execution. The terms are simple, Don Carmine. Dante Moretti surrenders his claim to the family. He acknowledges me as the rightful head. Then he leaves New York and never returns. Marco's eyes never left Dante. Or Valentina dies and we go to war. Your choice. Emma watched Dante's face, saw the calculation behind his calm exterior. He was buying time, letting the wire capture everything, but she also saw the genuine fear for his sister. Before I agree to anything, Dante said slowly, I want to know why. We were brothers, Marco. I trusted you with everything. Why betray me? Because you got weak. Marco's voice rose with genuine anger. You wanted to go legitimate, clean the money, play nice with the government. You forgot what we are, Dante. We're wolves. And wolves don't become sheep just because the world gets uncomfortable with teeth. So you killed Tommy. You shot me. You kidnapped my sister. All because I wanted to stop killing people. You wanted to destroy everything your father built. Everything I helped you build. Marco moved closer, his control slipping. The Castellano fire, you remember that? Those dead children? That broke you. Made you soft. But that's the business, Dante. Sometimes innocents die. That's the price of power. Emma's stomach turned. Through the kitchen window, she saw Dante's jaw tighten. Those children haunt me every day, Dante said quietly. Their faces, their names. Angela and Marco Castellano, 7 and 9 years old. They died because I gave an order without thinking, without caring about collateral damage. That's not strength, Marco. That's monstrosity. That's survival. Marco was shouting now, his composure cracking. You think the other families respect weakness? You think they'd follow a boss who apologizes for doing what's necessary? I think they'd follow a boss who doesn't murder children. Dante's voice was cold. But you wouldn't understand that. You enjoyed the violence, the power. That's why you're working with corrupt FBI agents like Ryan Mitchell, because you're building an empire on everyone else's corruption. Marco's eyes narrowed. How do you know about Mitchell? Because I'm not as stupid as you thought. I know Mitchell's been feeding you intelligence. I know he's helped you cover up operations in exchange for payoffs. I know this whole coup was coordinated with FBI protection. Dante smiled slightly. And I know every word we're saying right now is being recorded by federal agents surrounding this building. The room erupted. Marco lunged for Dante, but the family heads were already standing, shouting, backing away. The guards didn't know whether to protect Marco or defend themselves. In the chaos, Emma saw her opening. She burst through the kitchen door, running straight for Valentina. The guards turned, surprised by the server suddenly acting like a threat. Emma pulled the gun from her ankle holster, small, easily dismissed but very real, and pointed it at the nearest guard. "Step back," she said, surprised by how steady her voice was. "Who the hell are you?" Marco shouted, turning from Dante. "Someone who's tired of men like you hurting people I love." Emma kept the gun trained on the guard as she moved to Valentina, using a kitchen knife to cut her zip ties. "Can you run?" "Yes," Valentina gasped. "Who are you?" "Emma. Your brother sent me." She pulled Valentina to her feet. "Kitchen, now." They ran. Behind them, gunfire erupted. Emma heard Dante shout her name, heard the chaos of the dining room descending into violence. But she couldn't stop. She had to get Valentina out. Rosa screamed as they burst into the kitchen, but Emma didn't slow down. She dragged Valentina toward the back exit, kicked open the door, and stumbled into the alley. FBI agents swarmed them immediately. "Valentina Moretti?" Sarah Carmichael appeared, her weapon drawn. "You're safe now. Come with me." "My brother." Valentina tried to turn back. "Is fighting his way out. We need to get you clear." Sarah's eyes met Emma's. "Good work. Now both of you into the van. We'll extract Dante next." Emma let herself be pulled toward the surveillance van, but her heart was back in that restaurant, with Dante, surrounded by Marco's men, fighting a war he might not survive. "We have to go back," she said, pulling against the agent holding her arm. "Dante is wearing a wire and carrying 3 weapons," Sarah said firmly. "He knew what he was walking into. Right now, our priority is keeping you and Valentina alive, so his sacrifice wasn't for nothing." "Sacrifice?" Emma's blood went cold. "You think he's going to die?" Sarah's expression was grim. "I think he's going to do whatever it takes to end this, even if it costs him everything." Inside the van, Valentina grabbed Emma's hand. "You're Emma, the woman from the mountains. He told me about you when Marco was interrogating him." "Marco interrogated Dante?" "No, me. He wanted to know where Dante would run, who he'd trust. I told him I didn't know, that Dante and I weren't close anymore." Valentina's voice broke. "But they had pictures of you, from surveillance at your cabin. Marco knows who you are, what you mean to Dante. He's been planning to use you against him." Emma's mind raced. Ryan must have provided the surveillance photos. "Does Marco know I'm here, that I was the server?" "I don't think so. He was too focused on Dante." Valentina looked toward the restaurant where gunfire still echoed. "Why did he come? He had to know it was a trap. Because you're his sister. Because he'd do anything to save you." Tears streamed down Valentina's face. "He raised me. After our mother died, he was 12 years old, and he raised me. Changed my diapers, helped with homework, protected me from our father's violence. He became a monster to keep me safe. And I repaid him by hating what he'd become. He doesn't want you to love the monster. He wants you to love the man he's trying to be." Valentina met Emma's eyes. "He loves you. He's never said that about anyone except me. You changed him. He changed himself. I just believed in him." The explosion rocked the building. Emma screamed, tried to run toward the restaurant, but agents held her back. Smoke poured from the front entrance. More gunfire, screaming, chaos. Then, through the smoke, a figure emerged. Dante. He was bleeding from a cut above his eye, his suit torn and burned, but he was alive. He had Marco Vitale in a headlock, dragging him toward the FBI vans while Marco struggled and cursed. Behind him, more agents streamed into the building. The family heads were being led out with their hands up. Guards were surrendering, and there, being pushed into a squad car by federal marshals, was Ryan Mitchell, his face bruised, his expression shocked as he saw Emma standing there. Dante threw Marco to the ground at Sarah's feet. One crime boss, as promised, plus wire recordings of everything, the coup, the corruption, the FBI collusion, all of it. Sarah nodded to her agents, who immediately cuffed Marco. Dante Moretti, you're under arrest for... I know what I'm under arrest for, Dante interrupted, but we had a deal, immunity for testimony. The deal was evidence and cooperation. You gave me both. Sarah actually smiled slightly. You're under protective custody, not arrest. Big difference. We'll debrief you, you'll testify, and then, assuming you don't get killed before trial, you and Ms. Clark get to start that new life. Dante's eyes found Emma. Relief, love, and exhaustion warred across his face. Emma, Valentina, you're both safe. Emma finished, running to him. She didn't care about the blood or the FBI agents watching or the absolute insanity of the situation. She threw herself into his arms, felt him catch her and hold her like she was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. You did it, she whispered against his chest. You saved her. You ended this. We did it. You got Valentina out. That was the only thing that mattered. Valentina approached slowly, hesitantly. Dante released Emma and turned to his sister. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Years of distance and pain and love all tangled together. Then Valentina launched herself at him, sobbing. You idiot! You stupid self-sacrificing idiot! You could have died. But I didn't. Dante held her tight, his own eyes wet. I'm sorry, Val, for everything. For the life I gave you, for the violence, for becoming... Stop, just stop. Valentina pulled back, looking up at him with their mother's green eyes. You were never the monster you think you were. You were a boy forced to become a man too fast, making impossible choices to protect me. I see that now. I should have seen it sooner. You see it because you got away, because I kept you away. That was the only thing I did right. Sarah cleared her throat. This is touching, but we need to move. Marco's associates are going to realize what happened soon. We need all of you in protective custody until trial. They were loaded into separate vehicles, Dante in one, Emma and Valentina in another. As they pulled away from the restaurant, Emma looked back. The building was swarming with federal agents. Marco was being shoved into an armored vehicle, his empire crumbling around him. Ryan was in another car, his head down, his corruption finally exposed. It was over. The war, the chase, the danger. Over. What happens now? Valentina asked from beside her. Now we testify. We help put Marco and everyone who helped him away for life. Emma watched the city pass by. And then we figure out what comes next. Dante said you're from Colorado, mountains. Yeah. A cabin in the middle of nowhere. It's peaceful. Quiet. Valentina smiled slightly. Sounds perfect for him. He always hated the city, the noise. He just stayed because of the family. The family's not his responsibility anymore. No, it's not. Valentina looked at Emma. Thank you for saving him, for giving him a reason to want to be saved. He gave himself that reason. I just reminded him it was possible. They were taken to a secure federal facility. Concrete walls, armed guards, the kind of place where people disappeared from the world for their own protection. Dante was already there when they arrived, flanked by agents but no longer cuffed. He pulled both Emma and Valentina into a hug the moment he saw them. We're safe. It's really over. Not yet, Sarah said, approaching with a thick folder. Now comes the hard part. You testify against 37 defendants, Marco, Mitchell, corrupt officials, family heads, the whole network. The trials will take months, maybe years. I'll testify as many times as it takes. Good. Because what you did tonight, the wire recordings, the witnessed confession, that's going to bring down the entire East Coast operation. You're a hero, Dante. Or you will be, once people stop thinking of you as a criminal. I am a criminal. I just happened to do one good thing. You did more than one good thing. Emma squeezed his hand. You've been doing good things since the moment you decided to change. Tonight was just the culmination. They were given adjoining rooms in the facility, small but comfortable, with windows that looked out over the city. Emma stood at the window, watching dawn break over New York, marveling at how much had changed in 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, she was alone in her cabin, hiding from the world. Now she was in federal protective custody with a mafia boss turned informant and his sister, preparing to testify in the biggest organized crime trial in decades. Her life had become absolutely insane. And somehow, she'd never felt more alive. Dante came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking? That I should regret everything. Running with you, becoming a fugitive, nearly getting killed. She leaned back against him. But I don't. I'd do it all again. Even knowing what I am, what I've done. I know exactly what you are, Dante Moretti. You're a man who made terrible choices, who carries real guilt, who's trying desperately to atone. You're also the man who protected me, who fought for his sister, who chose redemption over revenge. She turned in his arms. You're not perfect, but you're mine, and I'm keeping you. Dante kissed her, soft, tender, full of promises. I love you, Emma Clark, and when this is all over, when we've testified and served our time and done everything required, I'm going to marry you, properly, with witnesses and vows and everything. Is that a proposal? It's a promise. The proposal comes later, when I can get you a ring and do it right. Emma smiled. I don't need a ring. I just need you. You'll get both. He pulled her closer. We'll go back to Colorado, to your cabin, build the life we should have had. Quiet, simple, together. What about Valentina? She'll come with us if she wants, or she'll go to law school, become the lawyer she always dreamed of being. Either way, she's free. We're all free. Free. The word felt impossible and perfect at once. Free from Marco, from Ryan, from the violence and corruption. Free to choose their own path. A knock interrupted them. Sarah entered, her expression serious. We have a problem. The wire recordings are perfect, except for one part. Ryan Mitchell's corruption is well documented, but his lawyer is arguing entrapment. He's claiming you forced him to work with Marco, that you manipulated him. That's a lie, Emma said. Ryan approached Marco. He was already corrupt. I believe you. But we need proof. Something concrete that shows Mitchell initiated the relationship with Marco. Sarah looked at Emma. Did Ryan ever call you while you were on the run? Text you? Anything that might show his state of mind? Emma thought back. The texts. The calls. He texted me the night before the restaurant. Tried to convince me that Dante was manipulating me. Wanted me to meet him first. Do you still have the message? I deleted it. She stopped. But phones keep records even after deletion, right? If you have my phone. We have your phone. We seized it as evidence. Sarah was already moving toward the door. If that text exists, it could be the proof we need. Mitchell trying to isolate you from Dante, manipulate your perception. That goes to his character, his pattern of control. She left. Dante pulled Emma close again. Even now, Ryan's trying to hurt you, to control the narrative. He can't hurt me anymore. None of them can. We won, Dante. We actually won. But even as she said it, Emma felt a chill. Something wasn't right. Ryan was too smart to go down without a fight. And men like him always had contingencies. 3 hours later, Sarah returned. Her expression was grim. We recovered the text. It's good evidence, but there's more. Mitchell had a backup plan. If he ever got arrested, he'd arranged for all his personal files to be released online. Everything he knew about Dante's operations, about the families, about federal witnesses, names, addresses, protection details. Dante went very still. When does it release? It already has. 20 minutes ago. Your location, Emma's location, Valentina's location, all of it is now public knowledge. Emma's blood turned to ice. What does that mean? It means every enemy Dante ever made now knows where to find him. It means this facility is compromised. And it means we need to move you all, now, before someone acts on that information. Alarms began blaring. Agents flooded the corridors. Outside, Emma heard vehicles approaching. Too many. Too fast. Dante grabbed her hand, his face set in hard lines. They're already here. Marco's people. They're coming to finish what he started. Valentina appeared in the doorway, her face pale. What's happening? We're leaving. Now. Dante pulled both women toward the emergency exit Sarah was indicating. Stay close. Stay behind me. No matter what happens. An explosion rocked the building. The walls shook. Screaming echoed through the facility. Dante's eyes met Emma's. In them, she saw fear and determination and love. Run, he said, and they ran. Toward an uncertain future, away from a past that refused to stay buried, racing against enemies who would never stop hunting them. The second chapter of their story was just beginning. And this one, Emma realized with terrible clarity, might not have a happy ending after all. Dawn broke over New York, and with it, the day that would decide their fate. Emma ran through smoke-filled corridors, her hand locked in Dante's, Valentina just ahead of them. FBI agents shouted orders, gunfire echoed from the floors below, and somewhere in the chaos, their enemies were closing in. Sarah Carmichael appeared through the smoke, her weapon drawn, blood streaking her temple. This way! We have armored vehicles in the underground garage. They descended emergency stairs, taking them 3 at a time. Behind them, more explosions, more screaming. Marco's associates had come prepared for war. How did they mobilize so fast? Dante demanded as they reached the garage level. Mitchell's files went live 20 minutes ago. That's all the time they needed. Sarah led them toward a black SUV. Get in. We're taking you to a secondary location. They piled into the vehicle. As it screeched out of the garage, Emma looked back to see armed men flooding into the facility. They'd escaped by minutes. Where are we going? Valentina asked, her voice shaking. Nowhere safe, Sarah admitted. Mitchell exposed every safe house, every witness protection location, every federal facility. Until we can secure you properly, we're mobile. Dante's jaw clenched. Ryan did this to hurt Emma, to prove he still had control. He did this to burn everything down on his way out. Sarah corrected. Mitchell knew if he was going down, he'd take everyone with him. 37 defendants, hundreds of witnesses, all exposed. It's a disaster. Emma stared out the window, watching the city wake up. Ordinary people starting ordinary days, unaware that lives were being destroyed in the shadows. What do? We regroup. Get ahead of this. Sarah's phone rang. She listened, her expression darkening. Understood. She hung up. Marco escaped during the chaos. He's in the wind. Of course he is. Dante's voice was cold. He planned this. The whole thing, getting arrested, waiting for Mitchell's insurance policy to activate, using the chaos to escape. We didn't win. We just delayed the inevitable. No. Emma grabbed his hand. We're not giving up. We've come too far. Emma's right. Valentina leaned forward. Marco wants you running scared, making mistakes. That's how he wins. We need to be smarter. Sarah pulled the SUV into an abandoned warehouse district. We have maybe an hour before they track this vehicle. Use it to think. What's Marco's next move? Dante closed his eyes, and Emma watched him shift into the strategist who'd built an empire. Marco's ego won't let him just disappear. He needs to prove he won. That means he'll come for me personally. Make it public. Make it brutal. But first, he'll go after what I care about most. His eyes opened, locked on Emma and Valentina. He'll use you as bait. Try to draw me out for a final confrontation. Then we don't let him take us. Emma's mind was racing. We flip it again. We make him think he's got us, but we're actually setting the trap. With what leverage? We have nothing. We have me. Everyone turned to Valentina. Marco thinks I'm weak, that I'm just Dante's little sister, but I know things. About the family, about the operations, about where bodies are buried. Literally. Papa told me things before he died. Things he never told you because he thought you were too soft. Dante stared at his sister. Val, what are you talking about? Papa kept a ledger. Physical, old school, impossible to hack. Every transaction, every deal, every murder the family ever commissioned, going back 40 years. It's his insurance, proof against everyone who ever worked with us. If that ledger went public, it would destroy every major crime family on the East Coast. Where is it? In Papa's old study. In the house Marco's been using as his headquarters. Valentina smiled grimly. The one place he thinks is completely secure. Sarah shook her head. You can't be serious. That house is a fortress. Marco will have 20 men minimum, probably more now that he's escaped. Walking in there is suicide. Not if he doesn't know we're coming. Dante's expression was calculating. Not if he thinks we're running, desperate, making mistakes. We give him what he expects, a panicked attempt to escape the city. While he's focused on hunting us down, we hit his headquarters, grab the ledger, and use it to destroy him. That's insane, Sarah said. It's the only option we have. Dante looked at each of them. Marco has the advantage right now. He's free, we're exposed, and he's got the entire criminal network looking for us. But if we get that ledger, we have leverage against everyone. The families will turn on Marco to protect themselves. The FBI will have evidence to prosecute everyone. We end this, not just for us, but for good. Emma saw the logic, saw the strategy, but she also saw the risk. How many of us make it out of this alive? All of us. Because failure isn't an option. Dante cupped her face. I know what I'm asking. I know this is more danger, more violence, more chances for everything to go wrong. But Emma, I need you to trust me one more time. I trust you. I'm just terrified of losing you. You won't. Because I promised you a life together, and I keep my promises. Sarah made several calls, her voice low and urgent. Finally, she hung up. I can get you weapons, a vehicle that's not being tracked, and 2 hours before my superiors realize I'm helping you go off book. After that, you're on your own. 2 hours is enough. Dante was already planning. We hit the house at noon, when Marco's men change shifts. That's when they're most vulnerable, most distracted. Valentina, you know the layout. Every room. I grew up in that house. Good. You guide us in. We get the ledger. We get out. Simple. Nothing about this is simple, Emma muttered, but she was already checking the gun Dante had given her, preparing mentally for what came next. They spent the next hour preparing. Sarah provided tactical gear, weapons, and a detailed surveillance layout of Marco's headquarters. The house was a mansion in the suburbs, gated, guarded, and designed to withstand assault. But it had one weakness, the old tunnels beneath it, bootlegger passages from Prohibition that Papa Moretti had kept maintained for emergencies. I used to play in those tunnels as a kid, Valentina explained, marking the map. They connect to the storm drains. We can come up directly into the basement, bypass all the exterior security. Won't Marco know about the tunnels? Emma asked. He knows they exist. But Papa sealed them years ago after a security scare. Marco never bothered to check if they're still functional because he thinks they're concrete-filled dead ends. Valentina smiled. Papa lied. He kept them open as his personal escape route. Only he and I knew. Dante looked at his sister with new respect. You've been planning this, waiting for the right moment. I've been surviving, learning, preparing for the day I could finally escape the family. I never thought, her voice caught, I never thought it would be like this. With you. Together. We're getting out together. Dante pulled her into a hug. All of us. We end this, and then we're done. No more violence. No more running. We build something new. At 11:30, they entered the storm drains 2 blocks from Marco's headquarters. The tunnels were dark, damp, and claustrophobic. Emma followed Valentina's lead, Dante bringing up the rear, his weapon drawn and ready. They moved in silence, the only sound their breathing and the distant drip of water. Emma's heart hammered. This was it. The final play. They either won everything or lost everything. After 20 minutes of crawling through darkness, Valentina stopped. Here, this leads up to the basement. She pointed to a ladder ascending into shadows. The study is 2 floors up, east wing. We'll have maybe 5 minutes before someone notices we're there. Then we move fast. Dante went first, testing the ladder, then hauling himself up. Emma went next, with Valentina behind her. They emerged into a wine cellar. Expensive bottles lined the walls, Papa Moretti's collection, gathering dust. Dante led them to the door, listened, then eased it open. The hallway beyond was empty, but Emma could hear voices from other parts of the house. Marco's men, going about their day, unaware that their enemies had infiltrated their stronghold. They moved like ghosts through the mansion. Emma recognized some of it from surveillance photos, the grand staircase, the formal living room, the opulent displays of wealth built on blood and crime. But seeing it in person was different. This was where Dante had grown up, where his father had ruled, where violence had been normalized. Studies this way. Valentina led them up the stairs, past family portraits that showed a younger Dante holding baby Valentina, their mother's gentle smile captured forever in oil paint. They reached the study. Dante picked the lock in seconds, muscle memory from a life Emma was still learning about. Inside, the room was exactly as Papa Moretti had left it. Dark wood, leather furniture, and a massive desk that dominated the space. The ledger's in the safe, behind that painting. Valentina pointed to a portrait of Antonio Moretti, stern, cold, every inch the crime boss. Dante moved the painting, revealing an old-fashioned safe. He stared at it for a moment, then began working the combination. Papa's birthday, Mama's birthday, Valentina's birthday. The safe clicked open. Inside was a single leather-bound book, aged and worn. Dante lifted it out carefully, opened it to a random page, and Emma saw names, dates, amounts, a complete record of 40 years of organized crime. "This is it." Dante's voice was quiet. "This ends everything." Not quite everything. Marco's voice came from the doorway. They spun. Marco stood there, gun drawn, 5 of his men flanking him. His expression was triumphant. "Did you really think I didn't know about the tunnels? Papa told me about them before he died. I've been waiting for you to try exactly this." Dante stepped in front of Emma and Valentina, the ledger clutched in his hand. "It's over, Marco. With this ledger, the FBI can prosecute everyone. The families will turn on you to save themselves. That ledger never leaves this room." Marco's gun didn't waver. "And neither do you. This is how it ends, Dante. You on your knees, begging before I put a bullet in your head, just like I always planned. There's one problem with your plan." Dante's voice was calm. "You're assuming I came alone." The windows exploded inward. FBI agents rappelled through, weapons drawn, shouting orders. Sarah Carmichael came through the door behind Marco, her gun pressed to his spine. "Marco Vitale, you're under arrest. Again. This time it's going to stick." Marco's men dropped their weapons. Marco himself went very still, rage and disbelief warring across his face. "How?" "The wire." Dante lifted his jacket, showing the recording device. "I've been broadcasting everything since we entered the house. Every word you said, every threat you made, recorded. Federal crime committed in real time with witnesses. You just confessed to conspiracy to murder. Plus," Sarah added, handcuffing Marco roughly, "we've had surveillance on this house since you escaped. We knew you'd come here eventually. Dante just helped us catch you in the act." As Marco was dragged away, still cursing and threatening, Emma felt her knees go weak. Dante caught her, held her upright. "It's over," he whispered. "It's really over. You used yourself as bait. Again." It was the only way to catch him with evidence, to make sure this time he stays caught. Dante pulled back to look at her. "But I promised you I wouldn't die, and I keep my promises." Valentina emerged from where she'd been hiding behind the desk, the ledger in her hands. She gave it to Sarah. "Everything you need to dismantle the families. Use it." Sarah nodded. "We will. And in exchange," she pulled out official-looking documents. "Signed immunity agreements for all 3 of you. Dante testifies against Marco and the corrupt officials." You all get witness protection if you want it, or you get to disappear into normal lives. Your choice. Normal lives, Dante said immediately. No protection necessary. We're done with this world. 3 months later, Emma stood on the porch of her cabin in Colorado, watching snow fall gently over the mountains. So much had changed, yet somehow she'd come full circle, back to where it all started. Dante was in the kitchen, attempting to cook dinner with comical determination. He'd testified in 7 trials, putting away Marco, Ryan, and dozens of others. His cooperation had dismantled the East Coast crime families, ended decades of corruption, and earned him, if not forgiveness, at least the chance at redemption. Valentina was inside too, curled up on the couch with law school textbooks. She'd enrolled under a new name, pursuing the dream Dante had protected all those years. She visited often, staying in the guest room they'd built, part of their new family. The cabin had been expanded, more space, more rooms, more life. They'd built something here in the mountains, something real and good and free from the violence of their past. "Dinner's ready," Dante called. "Well, it's edible. That counts as ready, right?" Emma smiled, walked inside to warmth and laughter and love. Dante pulled her close, kissed her temple. "What were you thinking about?" "About how 3 months ago I dragged a dying stranger through a blizzard, and now he's burning pasta in my kitchen. Our kitchen. And I'm not burning it, I'm caramelizing it. That's not how pasta works." Valentina laughed from the couch. "You two are disgustingly cute." They ate dinner together. The pasta wasn't actually that bad, and talked about ordinary things. Valentina's classes, the foundation they were starting for victims of organized crime, the garden they'd plant in spring. Later, after Valentina went to bed, Dante led Emma outside. The snow had stopped, leaving everything crystalline and perfect under moonlight. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small box. Emma's breath caught. "Dante, I promised you a proper proposal. I promised you a ring and everything." He opened the box, revealing a simple band with a single diamond. Nothing ostentatious, just perfect. "Emma Clark, you saved my life in every way a person can be saved. You gave me hope when I had none, love when I deserved hate, and a future when I thought I had only a violent past. Will you marry me? Will you build this life with me? Will you let me spend every day earning the gift you've given me?" Tears streamed down Emma's face. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, and it fit perfectly. Then he pulled her into his arms, and they stood there in the snow, 2 broken people who'd found each other in the storm and decided to heal together. "I love you," Dante whispered against her hair. "Every day for the rest of my life, I'll love you." "I love you too. And Dante, you already earned it. You earned it the moment you chose to change. The moment you chose us over revenge. The moment you decided to be better." They kissed under the stars, in the place where their story began. And somewhere in that kiss was everything. The violence they'd survived, the love they'd found, the future they'd build together. 6 months later, they married in those same mountains. Small ceremony, just Valentina, Sarah Carmichael, James O'Connor, and a handful of others who'd helped them survive. Dante wore a simple suit. Emma wore a dress the color of snow. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves, promises of honesty, growth, and love without conditions. When the officiant pronounced them married, Dante kissed his wife like she was the air he breathed, and Emma kissed him back, thinking about that day in the blizzard when she'd made the choice to save a stranger. Best decision she'd ever made. A year after that, Emma went into labor during a spring snowstorm, nature's sense of humor. Dante held her hand through every contraction, whispering encouragement, his fear and love written across every feature. When their daughter was born, small and perfect and screaming with indignation, Dante cried. Actually cried, tears streaming down his face as he held her for the first time. "Lucia," he whispered, the name they'd chosen together. "Little light." Emma watched him with their daughter, saw the gentleness in his hands, the wonder in his eyes. This man who'd been a killer, a crime boss, a monster. He was also this, a father, a husband, a man building something beautiful from the ruins of his past. Valentina came to meet her niece the next day, graduating with honors from law school. She held Lucia carefully, tears in her eyes. "She's perfect." "She is." Dante wrapped an arm around his sister. "And she'll grow up knowing only love. No violence, no crime, just family. That's all Papa ever really wanted for us," Valentina said quietly. "He just didn't know how to give it. Then we break the cycle, here, now, with her." They sat together on the porch, Emma, Dante, Valentina, and baby Lucia, watching the sun set over the mountains. The foundation they'd started was thriving, helping hundreds escape organized crime. Dante consulted with the FBI, using his knowledge to dismantle remaining operations. Emma had expanded her veterinary practice into a full clinic. They'd built a life, a real one worth fighting for. "I never thought I'd have this," Dante said, holding his daughter while she slept against his chest. "Peace, family, a future worth living." "You have it because you chose it," Emma reminded him. "You chose to be better, to change, to fight for something other than power. I chose it because you showed me it was possible." He looked at her, love shining in those dark eyes that had once been so cold. "You saved me, Emma. That day in the snow, you saved everything." Emma leaned against him, watched their daughter sleep. "We saved each other." And that was the truth. Two broken people finding each other in a blizzard. A stranger with no memory and a woman brave enough to believe in second chances. They'd built something impossible, redemption, love, and a future free from the sins of the past. Some love stories begin with chance meetings. Theirs began with a stranger in the snow, a mafia boss wanted by the FBI, and a woman who saw the man beneath the monster. They'd survived betrayal, violence, and a war for their lives. And in the end, love won. It didn't erase the past. It didn't make the sins disappear. But it gave them something better, the chance to build a future worth the fight. Dante Moretti was no longer a crime boss. He was a husband, a father, a man who'd found redemption in the mountains where he'd nearly died. And Emma Clark, who'd once been so broken she'd fled to isolation, had found her strength in loving a man everyone said she should fear. Together, they proved that second chances weren't just possible, they were worth everything. Years later, when Lucia was old enough to ask about how her parents met, they'd tell her a simpler version, about a snowstorm, about helping someone who needed it, about choosing love even when it was complicated. They'd tell her the truth eventually. When she was old enough to understand, about who her father had been and who he'd become, about the choices that defined them. But for now, in this moment, with their daughter sleeping peacefully and the mountains standing eternal around them, they simply existed in the life they'd built, a life earned through pain and sacrifice and the simple, radical choice to believe in better. Emma looked at her husband, saw him smile at their daughter with infinite gentleness, and knew with absolute certainty she'd saved him in the snow that day. And every day since, they saved each other. That was their story. Not perfect, not simple, but real, and absolutely worth it. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.